reason we chose well-balanced design to do the renovation was that George made it clear that he really understood how to do renovations in a high-rise project. We actually had two companies that we initially started the design with because we couldn't make our mind up. So we worked for a few weeks with both Well-Balanced and this other company. But it became very clear that this other company knew how to renovate houses, but they didn't really understand the challenges of renovating in a high-rise like we live in, 33-story apartment. And George figured out what was where and what he could move. And so that was when George made it very clear that he was our guy. Working with the designer and the design process was probably, in my mind, one of the most critical aspects to Well-Balanced Design's contribution to the project. The designer listened to things that we wanted to do, and she came up with designs that respond to that. One of the key things that she listened to was that we wanted some separation between the living room and the bathroom. And she came up with a very brilliant way to do that. It resulted in a nice little entry foyer, and it also made the living room feel like a room as opposed to just part of a big space. It defined the room. And I still look at that and I marvel at what a brilliant design she did. And I really think that she was one of the key contributors to the overall project. We had a very clearly defined budget that George gave us. And George certainly worked well in maintaining that budget. At one point, we introduced a bit of a curveball in that we decided to actually expand the project. And that resulted in a bit of a delay while we figured out some additional design that needed to be done. But everybody took that in stride, and the overall budget was very satisfactory, and we recovered quite well from all the delays. In terms of the project and thinking of highlights and the best parts, frankly, I've got great memories of all stages, right from the demo through to the cabinets being rolled in and watching them all put together. There are many parts that I've got fond memories for, and I think that, again, that speaks really highly of Well-Balanced when I compare my experience of living through a renovation and really enjoying it to other people saying, oh man, that was the most stressful thing I ever did in my life. Well, it wasn't, because it was a really well-managed project that ended extremely successfully. So I'd highly recommend it if you want to avoid the stress that most people seem to experience during renovations. I can say wholeheartedly that this was such an enjoyable and successful project, it wouldn't even cross my mind to put Well-Balanced at the top of the list of anybody who I'd consider using for a project, particularly in something like this where they have so much experience and other people don't seem to understand as well how to do a renovation in an apartment, which has all its unique challenges. And George has done enough of these that he really knows how these need to be done. So this is my most direct experience. I know George does lots of other things which I'm sure he's good at too, but what I know that he does extremely well, I would wholeheartedly recommend him to others, and I would certainly use him again myself. George's experience means that he's got lots of really good people working for him. They want to work for him and they do good work for him. But if there are things that need to be done, he knows how to fix them. I would say that Well-Balanced is a great company to work with, and if you're thinking of as big a project as we did, which was really taking a 2,600 square foot apartment, entirely gutting it and replacing everything, and living to say that you enjoyed that, that speaks highly of Well-Balanced.